Yeah, my name's Elissa, and I am no math whiz. Now, starting out like that, you might think my story is about taxes, but in fact, quite the contrary. See, I'm no math whiz, but I know that when I say someone traveled for 14 years but lived for 4, something doesn't quite add up, if you know what I mean. Well, that's the story of E.B., Eggbert, actually. Eggbert was my pet name for my pet. Now here's the thing. He was an extraordinary pet. And actually, to say he was an extraordinary pet is a bit of a stretch. He was quite a strong swimmer, though, and I believe one of our earlier storytellers had a tale like that. He was not in the newspaper, so I mean, really, he's a blend of everyone's stories. He was, in fact, a fish. He was a fish, and I can't say he was an extraordinary fish. In fact, at the eulogy that I gave just recently, I said he was a good fish. And I specified good and not great because the truth was he wasn't a great fish. He was a good fish. He was a goldfish. But I mean it when I say he traveled for 14 years. And that was before he was laid to rest. And that's how I come to tell you this little story about Eggbert and the eulogy that I gave. See, just before our first snowfall, I gathered some of my closest girlfriends, and I mean from all across the country and other countries. We had a girlfriend of mine in from California, one in from Colorado, a friend was in from London, here from Massachusetts, and we're gathered over a very small hole, a very small grave in the ground, and we sang Amazing Grace. It was quite touching. We said the Mourner's Cottage. I mean, it was really beautiful, but over a fish, and again, not even a great fish. The thing is, years and years and years ago, Eggbert came to join my life. He was named Eggbert by my brother, who was doing egg experiments in elementary school. And I would love to tell you that Eggbert was such a great fish because I was a great pet owner, but that would be a lie. In fact, Eggbert was a big fish, in part because everyone thought I was a terrible pet owner, and relatives of mine would sneak into the bedroom to feed him because they thought I wasn't doing that. So, the whole goldfish will grow to be the size of their tank. Well, he was a big fish, because I would remember to feed him sometimes, and they remembered to feed him a lot of times, and they definitely means plural. We had a few people in the house, and they loved to visit Eggbert and feed him, and he was a slow-moving fish. Because I also didn't clean his tank. But anyway, the point is, when he passed away when I was in college, apparently I had a lot going on. My mother didn't want to overwhelm me, which means she didn't want to overwhelm her. But that's a story for another time. So she met me at one point. I was going to school in Boston, and she met me at a very special place to share Egbert's passing, and that was Sullivan Square. So we're meeting in the parking lot, and she gets this look. Now, my mother can make any story into a terribly, terribly dramatic and traumatic story. So she says, "I need to tell you something." She looks like she's going to cry, so of course I look like I'm going to cry. And she, Eggbert passed away. And I went, "Oh, that's not nearly as sad as I thought the news was going to be. That's terrible, Mom. Thank you for..." She goes, "Don't worry, I put him in a small coffin in the freezer for you. I couldn't flush him. I knew you'd want to say a proper goodbye." Now, at the time, I thought this was ridiculous. A proper goodbye. He's a fish. He's a fish. But so he's in the freezer in this little jewelry box, and she put the date on it and everything. And but I was busy. I couldn't get. She wanted me to bury him in the backyard, which is totally reasonable thing to do, but I was so busy, and then we moved, and then I moved to California. Now, every time I would come home, she would say, I think it's time to say, and I was a very busy person. I don't know if any of you are busy. I was a very busy person. It wasn't time yet. She moved from Burlington to Needham. It wasn't time yet. She moved from Needham to Ocean Grove, New Jersey. It really wasn't time yet. I'm a busy person. I couldn't say goodbye, is the truth. She moved from Ocean Grove to Union Beach. Look, this fish he's been to more places than I have. He traveled with her for 14 years, and And you know what? I've moved back to Massachusetts after 10 years in California, and finally I have time. I have time to, as I'm saying my hellos to an old place, I have time to say goodbye to an old friend. So I gathered, again, my closest girlfriends. We had a grad school reunion at one of our friends' homes. We gathered over this little teeny grave, and again, we sang Amazing Grace. We said the mourner's Kaddish, and my eulogy was, he was a good fish, not a great fish. But if you can, in life, just be good. Just be what you are. You can make quite an impact on many people's lives. And I hope he's made an impact on yours as he did on mine. Thank you.